The Lord, everybody.
Praise the Lord.
Another great worship service again. Must say it's amazing. You guys usher in such a presence of God into this place. That's not everywhere. I can tell you that. Maybe most of you, this is the only place you've been. You know, I've been to a lot of different churches throughout the U.S., and this isn't an everyday thing. Just because we're all United Pentecostals doesn't mean that, Apostolic Pentecostals doesn't mean it's always like this. So you guys have a great thing going here. Don't lose that. Don't give that up for anything. Amen. People come in, tell you worship too hard, you worship too much. They are dead wrong. Don't ever give that up. We're going to be talking today, we talked a little bit yesterday about the giant of regret. My scriptures for today are going to be based in Proverbs 3. I'll give everybody a few seconds to get there if you want to read along. Proverbs 3. And it says, "My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil." And I want to focus mostly on those last three scriptures there. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Today we're going to talk about the giant of transition, or the giant of change. Okay, Brother Geraldo, if you could pray this morning.
Take the word of Christ to your life, Lord Jesus, Lord. For the wick, Lord Jesus, as you preach your word, Lord Jesus, Lord, we pray.
Amen. You may be seated. Now, I think in all of our lives, at some point or another, we've all been faced with a change, a transition. You guys aren't infants anymore, so clearly you were faced with change somewhere along the road. Okay, some point or another you had to learn how to walk. Some point or another you had to learn how to dress yourself. I hope it looks like it. Everybody's dressed, right? I try to keep you guys awake this morning. It was a little bit longer than I expected yesterday, so we'll see how it goes today. But I know it's hard eating breakfast and then coming in, get comfortable. So I'll keep you awake today, hopefully. So we've all faced change in our lives, right? There's been something. Whether it's school, you have to move on to that next grade. If you change schools, you change where you go, you change where you go to the grocery store, you change jobs. You have to make new friends, make friends with your coworkers, new coworkers, all this stuff. Okay, and that's all good. That's part of life. The big thing is how you handle that change. How are you going to handle that transition, that in-between spot where, for us men, okay, how do you handle that transition from being a boy to a man? What are you going to do in that span of time? Okay, how do you make that transition? Ladies, from being a little girl to a lady, a woman of God. Guys, a man of God. From the guy that sits on the pew in the back to being a minister in the church. Okay, that's possible, People come in, that's how they start. So how do you make those transitions? How do you make those changes? What do you do in that time period? The hardest transitions to make are the ones that are unexpected. Right? The ones you totally did not see coming. You know, it could be graduation, something like that. You know, you see it coming, but you don't know what's... After you graduate and you go out into the real world, sometimes it's like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. You know, I was all like, yeah, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to graduate from high school, whatever the case is, and I'm going to go out and get a job, and it's going to be awesome. And 3 months later, you're graduated, and you still don't have a job. Yeah, that's the one you didn't see coming. You know, it could be an urgent desire to change majors in college, or, you know, change what you're studying in high school if you can do that here. I don't know how that works exactly. But, you know, it could feel it could be you feel trapped with the wrong boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're weighing 2 summer internships, which one's going to be better than the other. You know, perhaps it's to decide between your responsibilities and maybe family issues at home. And I think that one can be a tough one because, you know, as a Christian, you try to be good, you try to take care of your family when you can. But there are some points where, you know, depending what your position is, as a husband, as a father in a home, yes, the family is a responsibility. But when you're growing up in that home, you have responsibilities to that family, but at some point, you're going to have to become your own adult. You're going to have to become your own person. You are going to have a family of your own to take care of. So you have to be able to make those decisions to weigh out, okay, well, this job, I need this job. I believe God has put this job in my life. He's confirmed it through people in the church. He's confirmed it through the pastor. The pastor's backed it up. You know, it's going to help me move forward. But if I take this job, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this for my family. That's a tough place to be in. What do you do? What do you do? You know? I don't know if I've personally been faced with that one. That's a difficult task because you still feel that responsibility, but you have to move forward. God's calling you to a place, you have to take it. If it's God's will for your life, you have to move forward and do that. And like I've already mentioned, you know, talk to your pastor. I can tell you right now, if it's, well, this job is going to help me, but it's going to require sacrificing this. If pastor says it's not a good idea, it's not a good idea. Okay, God put that man here for a purpose. And, you know, and I've heard it preached before. God is not going to tell you something different than what he's telling your pastor. If your pastor is in tune with God, which, you know, I believe he is, and I believe you all know he is, he's not going to tell Brother Smith, you know, you need to guide this young person, you know, tell him not to do this thing, and he's going to tell you, yeah, go ahead and do it. That's fine. That's what I want for you. Okay? God's not going to change his word for you, ladies and gentlemen. If it says it in the Bible, just because you feel that God told you that you don't have to do it that way, that doesn't fly, okay? That's not the way it works. So transition. That's where we get stuck. Everybody stand up for a second. I'm testing to see who's awake. Stretch a little bit. Come on. And this is the morning session, so we can do weird stuff. Okay, there's sound effects. That's my man. I usually do that, but... All right, so get a little space between you and the person around you. Come out the aisles or something. Get a little bit of space. Get a little bit of space. Come out of the pews. I don't think you're going to be able to do this in the pews. Everybody find a nice little open spot here. Okay, so we're talking about transition, right? From one step to the next. That's what transition is. It's that in-between spot. So this is why it's difficult. I want everybody to take a step forward. Hold it there. Hold it out. Come on, like you're taking a step. I want to see some of you wobbling around like I am. Stick your foot out there. Come on, come on. Lean forward as far as you can go. As far as you can go. As far as you can go. Oh, I see a couple of people wiping out. Okay, you guys can go back to your seats. So that was difficult, right? Sometimes in life, we get stuck in that transition phase.
Right.
So, you're supposed to be heading in this direction. God's called you that direction, and you're still doing what you're last told to do. So that's your plant foot. That's this foot back here. God said, this is what I want you to do. So you're still doing that, but He's calling you to the next step. And you're working through that, So you're taking that slow motion, and you're there, and it's like, you're stuck there for a little bit. Sometimes God makes you wait. A lot of times God makes you wait. Let me clarify that. God likes to test our patience, to grow our patience. Trust me, I'm not a patient person, so I've dealt a lot with that one. So sometimes you get stuck there. And what do you do when you're out there? Some of you, okay, so it's not that hard. Whoa, look at me. I can stand here with my foot out all day long. Silly Rick, he thinks this is really hard. What about if I came up and I pushed you a little bit, Brother Alex, when you were up like this? If I just came over and hit you,
Right.
I'm pretty sure you'd do what I just did. Except if I hit you, you'd probably be all the way over there. Anyway, I'm getting ready for recreation time after church. So those are the things you don't see coming. You're in that transition, and then, oops, something hits you that you weren't expecting. You are, let's see, I don't know where you guys are at in relationship-wise, but say you're working towards getting married. Everything is going great. The pastor's, happy with it. You found the right girl, the right guy. Everything is going swell. It's going towards that date, and then boom, this unexpected bill comes up that oh wow. Maybe you had a car finally, and you're saving up. Yes, I have a car. I'll be able to run around, take care of the things I need to take up, and then you wreck it. And it's going to cost thousands of dollars to fix it. What do? You weren't expecting that. What if, as I heard stories today, you get hurt and you have thousands of dollars in medical bills that you weren't expecting? Nobody expects that. I was playing in a softball game not too long ago, and I went up for a catch, and I came down, and my ankle sideways. So it hurt pretty bad, and I had to sit out for a few plays. And I wasn't expecting that, right? Much worse than that, my youth pastor, on his way around the bases, blew his hamstring out. Now, he has 4 or 5 kids. His wife has a full-time job. He's a firefighter, professional firefighter. What's he going to do? He wasn't expecting to be out of work for, I think it was 3 months. What do? We don't see those things coming, right? Sometimes we do get stuck there. We face these transitions that maybe scare you half to death sometimes. Sometimes it freezes your thinking process. It just drives you crazy emotionally. You don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what you're feeling. You can't sleep at night. But still, there are points that'll help you get through these things. There are solid points that everyone can trust in to ensure, a smooth transition towards success while being in God's will. Because this applies to your everyday life too. Okay, not just spiritual aspect, but your physical aspect. Because most of the time you're going to need to find an income source. Okay, not everybody can be missionaries, and that their income source is they have to go to the United States and run around like crazy. So that's their job essentially. That's how they have to do that. So you need to be successful, okay? You need to be able to plan, brother and sister Smith, a budget. Or all that work isn't going to do you any good. So there are points, even, spiritual points that'll help you in your physical lives. And, if God's helping you in your physical life, that tends to boost your spiritual life a little bit. Sometimes. Other times, bad things can boost your spiritual life. You know, we've all seen both sides of that, I think. So this lesson, hopefully, is going to kind of help you to define those points and, you know, help you make a clearer next step as in your walk with God, okay? So we're all in transitions, right? We've been through this, whatever it is, you know, some may have more consequences than others. What may seem like a big deal to you may be something simple to somebody else. But whatever it is, we all have a transition. It's not enough to have a goal. I want a new job. Okay, God, I'm waiting. I want a new job. I've been waiting 10 minutes. Nobody's called me for an interview.
Come on.
No, I didn't put out applications. God's just going to let them call me. You know, everybody knows I'm here. Right? It's not enough to just say, I want a job. You have to put out applications. You have to put your stuff out. I want to get married. It's not enough to just say that. And, okay, ladies and gentlemen, as Pastor Gillis talked last night, you can't just be like, okay, she looks good, I'll marry her. That's my goal. Right? Ladies, you know, he's fine. I'm going to marry him right there. Okay? That's not the way it works. You can't just have that goal. There's a big process to that. You know, I need to get a new major in college because I hate the one that I'm in. Sometimes that's the way it goes, you know. You get into something in college and it's like, whoa, maybe I don't want to do this. Or, you know, maybe it's you thought you were going this way and God said, well, you know, you're going to college, why don't you work on this? Because this will help you in church as well. You know, because there are things that will benefit you in the world and in church. You know, for example, communication is one of them, I think personally. Okay, yes, God can use anybody he wants. Look at Moses in the Bible. Most people, you know, believe he had a stuttering problem. So he probably wasn't an expert with communication, but God still chose to use him. God also used his brother Aaron because Aaron was good at communication. So when you're going to college, you know, maybe that communication class will help you because you need to be able to make yourself clear to other people. God is going to give you the word, but he's still using us. It still has to come through you. So you need to be able to get that word across clearly. Okay, when Pastor Gillis preaches, when Pastor Smith preaches, when I'm teaching, when I'm preaching, it's something that, you know, God has given us, but we still have to talk to you guys about it. It's great that he gave it to me, but now I have to relay it to you. So how do you do that? So that's where that was a little sidebar, but that's, you know, how that can kind of influence those things. So it's not enough to have those goals. You have to set priorities that will help you achieve that goal. So let's talk about a Bible character real quick. Ruth. I think everybody maybe knows the story of Ruth. If not, you'll kind of get a gist of it here. Ruth found herself at multiple transition points within a short period of time. Should she go with her mother-in-law to a land that she never visited? Should she go with her mother-in-law when her mother-in-law told her to return and her other sister-in-law agreed to go ahead and do that? Now think about Ruth. Okay, she was married to this guy and he died. So she could have went back home to where her family was instead of staying with her mother-in-law. Should she pursue a man to be her husband when tradition declared that the man must do the pursuing? Boaz. She pretty much went after that guy and trapped him. So she had these things to face, and she honestly did them all perfectly. Don't you just love people like that? I know, I do. You know, oh, they have all this tough stuff, and they handle it all perfectly. God bless you. That's the nicest way to put it. So she did those things, right? Others faced different challenges. Peter saw Jesus walking on the water and decided that this storm was a transition period to deeper faith. And he nearly drowned. But that was a transition for him. That was the thing. Okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to step out in the boat and try this? Or am I just going to stand here and not do it? I think this could tie into yesterday's lesson about regret. What if Peter never took that step? He probably would have spent the rest of his life wondering, could I have walked on water? Could I have done what Jesus called me to do right then? Saul was put into an unexpected crisis of faith on the road to Damascus. And he passed that test. He realized, who Jesus was. He was blinded and then miraculously healed. He spent 3 years mastering his transition game into a Christian future before emerging into the wider world and becoming the world's greatest missionary. Think about that transition. This guy goes from being a Christian killer to the greatest missionary in the Bible. The greatest missionary ever. That's a pretty serious change. And I can promise you it wasn't all roses and sunshine think about it. Think about this a little bit deeply here. He went around killing Christians. Then he went around preaching to people about what he was just killing people for. Now, if you're one of those people, you've probably heard about this guy. And if you're a little bit skeptical like I like to be sometimes, you're probably thinking, he was just killing people for what he's teaching me. So, is he trying to set me up? Trying to get me all excited and go ahead and believe in this, and then, I got you. You believe in this, I'm going to kill you because you just sold out to this cause. I'm pretty sure that was probably in some of these people's minds. It would have been in mine. Nowadays we'd call that entrapment, maybe. But Esther went from an unknown Jewess to queen of the world's largest empire, and then found her race threatened with extinction. That's quite a change. Go from, probably just a poor Jewish girl to, the queen. And then she had to stick her neck out for her whole country. That's pretty crazy. Jesus, in the garden, he was scared. You read those scriptures, he did not want to die. Father, let this cup pass from me. Take this cup from me if it's your will. Yeah. So Jesus was in this transition. He had to go from that human flesh, that fleshly body that was wrapped around him that did not want to be tortured and nailed to a cross, to the spiritual side where this is what I need to do for my people. This is what I need to do to save humanity from their sins. So even Jesus himself had that transition. I believe it was to show us, to be an example for us, that Jesus walked this path. So what honestly makes you think that you're not going to have to walk the path? Setting priorities means focusing on the new essentials in your life. When the doctor tells you you have cancer, keeping up with who's number one in soccer probably isn't as important anymore. Playing video games probably isn't important anymore. Maybe using Facebook might not be as important anymore, spending all your time on there. Whatever the case is. While that might seem like an extreme example, the doctor tells you you have cancer, so you're not going to pay attention to soccer anymore.